Novels have inversions, so to say.
Rivka. Okay, so here we go. Fine. Okay, we're up to page 228. The sixth enticement, a sea of doubts. Compulsion versus free will. Okay, when the Tzara gives up, he's messiahish from all his other of his schemes. Yashlichecha b'yam hasfekos minyone ha'hechrech v'atzedek. So he tries another tactic. He'll throw you into a sea of doubts concerning the seeming contradiction between compulsion and free will. This is like the $1 million question that the Rishonim deal with, the Rambam, the Ravid. And whoa, look at this, Avi Roberman. Wow. Okay. So the $1 million question, how do you put together Hashem's Yediyah and our ability to have Bechira? Okay. Let's see. Yishtadol levaretz inyan hahechrech b'ta'onos chazokos min hakosa min hakabbalah k'dei laharchiv ha'maslo yisolech. Let's see what that means. Says Harmil, are you forced to behave in a certain way, whether sinful or not, because that's your nature determined by your creator? Do you have freedom of will to choose to be righteous? See, he says at first glance, it seems obvious we have free will. I mean, we do what we want, right? But there's a certain tendency in people to say it's not possible for me to be different than I already am. I am what I am because that's how Hashem made me. I'm angry. By nature, I'm lazy. I'm not a worker. I'm a fun. All these things, right? He says this is an attitude promoted by the Yetzer Hara. If you don't feel like coming to learn, the Yetzer will defend your choice by saying that your head is not for learning. It's your nature to sit home at night. You're not an intellectual. That's how Hashem made you. The Yetzer will excuse you from the necessity of trying to change yourself by saying it can't be helped. Today, there are people who justify criminals by saying that they have a gene in them that causes them to commit crimes, and you shouldn't blame them. They are sick people, and all they need is treatment. Boy, is he talking about today's news, huh? He's right up to date. Some people claim that they're homosexuals because that's the way they were born. All these cases fall within the general patterns of excuses for sin. Everybody is born with instincts and drives that make them want to behave in a sinful way unless they exert some degree of self-control. I mean, normal, healthy people have drives for women, right? And women for men. That doesn't mean that, therefore, you have to sin. Right? It's not an excuse. No, but I have this drive, right? So control it. The bottom line is that everybody's able to change his nature. Everybody's able to restrain the wickedness that's within him. As far as say that a person has all the koiches of the animals in it. All the, you have to tame your nature. Everybody is able to restrain his beastly impulses. When people fall back on the arguments by nature, they're persuaded by the Yetzer Hara. So that's how Rav Miller's understanding here, what he's saying. The Yetzer Hara throws you into a sea of doubts concerning compulsion and free will. And he's saying, that's who I am. Because when the Yetzer Hara sees that you're negligent in an aspect of service of Hashem, or that you're inclined to commit sins, he'll try to prove to you that it's a matter of being forced by your nature. He'll bring psukim from Chazal, in order to broaden the range of excuses at your disposal. He's going to show you that you're right. This is who you are. You have an inclination. You're forced to do it. Yes, so we'll say, Ilu Hoya writes, if Baruch Hu wanted you to serve him, he would have forced you to it by making it your nature. He would have driven you to do it and given you energy to do it.
That's the question we have with Paro and the hardening of the heart or whatever, in terms of
right.
That's a big kasha.
Big kasha, and there's a lot of answers. There's a lot of answers to the big kasha. Whether you go down with the fact that what HaKadosh Baruch Hu was doing was balancing, was actually giving him Bechira because of all the nisim and everything that was happening to him on a normal level. He would not have had free choice to make those choices that he was making. It's like, when someone twists your arm behind your back, and you don't really have the free choice. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu was hitting him with dam and Sradeya and Kinim and Orad. That's one way of understanding HaKadosh Baruch Hu therefore hardened his heart to give him free choice. Others is, you're right, he lost his free choice. He had his chance at free choice. That is part of the einish. Now you're going to be punished. Hashem's going to use you for other things. But so in fact, he says over here that he didn't motivate you in these ways means you're not expected to do these things. That's what the Eitzar tells you. If Hashem wanted me to be a Talmud Chacham, he would have given me, you see the Gebenim, they're such great brains and they're so super, minds and stuff. And obviously, I'm not supposed to do that. Furthermore, nothing happens unless Hashem decrees it. Here we have now that conflict, right? Nothing happens without Hashem decreeing it. And if you have that nature to be lazy, Hashem decreed that upon you. Could you oppose Hashem's decrees to overcome his wishes? You can only do what you've been decreed to do. And you can see this is what Hashem made you. This means that you may as well follow the nature that you find within yourself. That's the nature Hashem put you into you. Control of everything. It's like a whole from argument, right? What do you mean? The first animamin. Hashem directs and controls all the creations. He did and he does and he'll do all things. Everything is from Hashem. So what do you want from me? Control of everything's in the hands of Hashem. You don't believe that. You don't believe in Nani Mamin. I am Hashem who's made everything. So it says Ramila, Yitzhak can quote verses and he can quote teachings of the sages. That's when it comes to spiritual things. The Yitzhak sees you engage in some worldly activity, it will tell you, says Ramila, he explains, not to depend on anyone but yourself, because success and failure are in your own hands. Right now, this is where it gets tricky, because if you buy into the Yetzer Hara, he's sort of digging a hole for himself. Because then why is it when it comes to Olam Hazeh things, for daily things, for in your business world and all that stuff, you feel that you are in control. You don't sit back and say, what should I do? So Hashem made me. No, you go all out. And you plan. And you strategies, how you're going to make more money, and you go to business school, and suddenly it's all in your hands. So the Yetzer Hara has to answer that question. So it says, "V'mira oischa misasek b'maser b'nyani olam hazeh v'asakav." Yarmel, he'll say to you, "Hizar mina atzlav ha'yurifyan." He'll say to you, "Beware of laziness and lethargy. But don't rely on anyone other than yourself. Yeah, you have control of what's good for you and what is bad for you. You have the power to be active or passive. Exert yourself with all your strength and work with all your abilities. To get what you want from the pleasures of this world. That's what the Yetzer Hara is going to tell you when it comes to things in this world. Let's just take a step back here. Let's say I have to take a vacation for my health. Otherwise, I might overwork myself. I must go to sleep early at night and also sleep during the day for a couple of hours. Then the Yetzer Hara won't say it's decreed upon. It's all in my hands entirely. I have to eat the best foods in order to take care of my health. So when it comes to worldly things, he says it's up to me. And he wouldn't trust in Hashem at all. When it comes to spiritual things, it's all up to Hashem. That's my nature. I can't change myself. That's the self-contradictory argument of the Yetzer Hara. Sometimes it's forced upon you, and sometimes it says you have free will in your own hands. I remember my father's friend of Rachel was a principal, elementary school. And the boys would say how they can't remember, they can't remember the Gemara, they can't remember what they're learning. And he would say it's interesting because when it comes to sport and all the players and their, what do you call it? Their baseball, their numbers, their what?
Their stats.
Their stats. They're able to rattle it off. There's no problem whatsoever. Suddenly they have such these incredible memories, and they can, and they can tell you all the players on all the teams and when they played and how many home runs there, everything. And he would ask the kids, if you're right, so why overhear it, And it really has to do with what you want to do, what you don't want to do. But the Yetzer Hara, says the Chovos haLevavos, this is part of his maneuvering when it comes to Avodas Hashem. This is what I am. I can't do it. I wasn't blessed. And when it comes to Olam Hazeh, go out there. You could do it. You should do it. Ordinarily, people justify them by saying that's my nature. A man who hears me say how the failure to take a job and work all day long is nothing but Yetzer Hara will walk out.
So you're saying it's just motivation?
I'm saying no. Look, it is motivation. It's all of that. But we're not talking so much about that. We're talking just about we're just talking about how the Yetzer Hara tricks us into thinking.
I'm much interested in the psychology behind it. Because if I'm much more interested in baseball than I am in Torah, then I'll memorize the baseball stats. If I'm more interested in Torah than I am in baseball, I'll remember the sugyas. It's what I actually care about. So I don't really think it's a Yetzer Hara thing specifically.
No, you're right. You are right. But what the Yetzer Hara is saying is that when it comes to Torah, your reasoning why you're not excelling or working harder or doing all kind of things to make it work is you say, look, Hashem made me this way. You don't use that line. But when it comes to Olam Hazeh things, you don't necessarily use that line. This is one of the tricks of the Yetzer Hara. That's all he's saying. You're right. You're right. On the bottom line is why am I more successful? Because that's where my heart is. That's where my desire is. Right.
I would say further that it's incumbent upon us to make it so that we have that dopamine drive for the other things. Meaning, yes, it might be more of a struggle, meaning we have to trick ourselves, right? So how am I going to trick myself today to make my way to whatever it is? So that's why, you'll have these night staters that have Dougies every night or whatever it may be, just to throw out an example. Why? Because we don't have that drive, so we have to figure out, okay, how are we going to trick ourselves today to do it? But that's our responsibility, meaning we can't just say, oh, I'm not driven and therefore I'm putter. It's, you've got to figure out how to drive yourself. Like, it doesn't mean that you have to say, oh, I'm going to always, lishma, enjoy it. But how? So what's the trick?
Right. No, absolutely. Absolutely. But, we have to, we're a step ahead already. We're a step ahead after once we're already recognizing that what's going on. Right. But the Chovos haLevavos is telling us we don't even recognize necessarily what's going on. It's part of the Yetzer Hara's sneaky thing, that we don't realize that when it comes to Torah and Avodah, we allow ourselves that argument that, look, this is the koiches I have, this is who I am. And when it comes to other things, we find all kind of koiches, and we don't say, oh, this is the way Hashem made me, but rather, let me see what I could do. You're already a step after. I recognize this. I recognize what's going on. You know what I mean? I recognize, no, I really do have the ability. You want to say, I'm not interested, I need to find tricks to do it. But you don't hide behind the thing. Listen, I have limited abilities. I have a problem remembering things. I can't remember things. That's what you say. So, that's what Yetzirah tells you. Hashem made you limited on a certain level when you're talking about serving Hashem. Right? But when you come, so the truth is you could use the Yetzirah here to its undoing. That's what I'm saying. Because if you realize what's going on, you realize how the whole thing's a big bluff.
Well,
But it's only,
Are you suggesting this idea that the Yetzer Hara is convincing us that we're ba'onas?
I'm saying the Chovos haLevavos is saying that when it comes to Avodas Hashem, yes, the Yetzer Hara is convincing me this is the way Hashem made me. This is this is my abilities.
So where and how do we draw the lines of onas, of actually being an onas in what scenario?
So Ron, exactly, that's what I'm saying. I could use the Yetzer Hara here to show myself that it's not real, is because let me take a look at what I do in other areas. That's not quote unquote avodas Hashem, or as like Avi says, things that I have an interest in. Like I gave the example, when it comes to baseball, to know all the stats. Let me take a look and say what one is. If it's true and I'm saying I'm an onus and I can't remember, then explain to me how I remember here. So then you say, okay, right, I have an interest. Okay, so now let's work on building interest. I'll be saying you could start with a Loy Lishma, a Dunkin's Donuts or something, whatever it is, but you can't, you use this to prove to yourself that the Torah is telling you the Brooklyn Bridge. They're telling you you're not capable. I'll show you are capable. Look at what you're doing in all other areas. Yeah.
It's interesting because this is I feel like
what he's saying.
Oh.
A woman, my doing
Sorry, I lost you there. I hear you saying. I think it draws out to a
bias mission. Sorry.
Shalom bias mission. Dun dun dun. What up, Simcha? How's Haifa? How long are you here? Just for the year?
Several years,
Several years.
Several years, yeah.
Come down to Jerusalem once in a while.
When I have time, we'll see. Where do you live?
Yerushalayim.
Where at?
Currently Har Choma, but I'm probably going to be in Amon Natsif.
Which one? Where Carmel is up? The Carmel is up here.
Har Choma, which
Har Choma.
next to Talpiot and Gila, and
okay.
probably in Amon Natsif.
All right, I'm sorry. You guys know, some of you know that I had a grandson, and my daughter's giving him one of his first baths, and she forgot to bring the soap. She can't quite leave the baby in the water and walk away, so I had to go call her. By the way, does anyone know John Braunschweiger? Avi, you must know him. Do you?
John Brown?
Braunschweiger.
Yeah, I mean,
Jonathan Braunschweiger.
I can't.
No, you don't know? He lives down in Florida. Okay, in case he just became a grandfather this week, first time. He's an David guy. Yeah.
Rebbe, I was going to say, it's interesting because it's one of the things that now that we've gotten so clear for educational purposes, all these different diagnoses, which are actually very helpful. The thing is to make sure that the individual who has it doesn't say, "Oh, no, I've got this diagnosis, therefore I can't learn." And it's like, no, you can, you're capable. We got to figure out how to present it to you, but this is not something to hide behind. You embrace actually your diagnosis because it's like, great, now I can figure out how to do this the right way. So that's one of the things that, meaning now over the past decade, it has been really about breaking, students and parents of the concept of, oh, they're diagnosed with A and therefore they're never going to be able to. No, it's like, no. It's not how it works.
Nachon. Okay, so this is where we're holding. So the Yetzer Hara here, right, is trying to sell us this lie, right? That the reason why I can't serve Hashem and be Oved Hashem correctly, because that's the way Hashem made me. I have ADHD. That's why Hashem made me. I'm limited. And obviously saying, okay, I have ADHD. Let me show you how to deal with ADHD, right? But okay, so but what the Chovos haLevavos is pointing out here, it seems, the way Rav Miller is explaining it, is that we could recognize the Yetzer Hara and his schemes by seeing, so how am I when it comes to other things? My Rebbe used to say, so you can't concentrate, but why is it when you pick up a good novel, you don't move for 3 hours and you read the novel, right? So in other words, you need to find a way of interesting yourself. You need a way of motivating yourself. Okay, but you can't say, this is the way Hashem made me, and therefore, like Ron was saying, it's an aynus, I'm pucker. I once spoke to a young man with a beard who came here every day from Mincha. I asked him about getting married. He took a look at me, and I never saw him again. Well, he doesn't need any of the verses of Mamari Chazal that Chovos haLevavos quotes because he justifies himself. But Hashem said your nature is to do whatever is right. I'm not sure what he meant there. Learn a trade, get a profession, make a living, get married. Otherwise, there's nobody to blame but yourself. When it comes to other things, a person says, up to me entirely. He doesn't trust in Hashem at all. If you want to get wealthy, you must hustle. If you want to be healthy, you got to take certain steps. If you want to be famous, you must do what it takes. Don't rely on anybody because you're the master of your fate. In finding the Yetzer Hara, you can take advantage of its great weakness. It doesn't feel the need to be consistent. It thinks you're foolish enough to take its words at face value. So sometimes it argues that you're acting under duress, that everything you do is predestined by the Creator. And at times it presents the opposite view, that you have free will, and if you don't take care of things, they won't get done. It tailors its arguments according to what will entice you to sin and weaken your will. Right? So, that's what we're saying. We could use the Yetzer Hara. We could catch him. We could trick him up. We could catch him at his own tricks, and therefore realize the lies he's selling us. But if we don't think about it, we don't learn the Chovos haLevavos, we could go through our whole life saying, look, I tried yeshiva, I wasn't matzliach, it wasn't for me. You know, even being a real frum Jew, not really for me, I tried. Right? And at the same time, doing everything and whatever it takes to be a successful businessman. And you don't say, I can't do it. You know, many people go through life that way, believing that. So, but Rav Miller is pointing out, but I could use the Yetzer Hara if I could catch him at his own tricks and see how he's playing mind games with me. I can negate that. Yom Halacha, I think we read this already. Yom Halacha, Yizor min ha'atzla v'harifyon. Beware of laziness and lethargy, right? When you're talking about Olam Has things, like Tisbrech al Zulaska. Don't rely on anyone other than yourself. Yeah, Toiva Rabbi Yechaltecha, it's all in your control. You have the power to be active or passive. Exert yourself with all your strength and work with all your abilities to get what you want from the pleasures of this world. Okay, we'll stop here. I don't know where there's a real stop here, but we'll stop here. Mr. Hashem will continue tomorrow. Okay.